Her last phone call home was about a computer that kept glitching. She was frustrated. Her mom told her to turn it off and restart. Nadia said she'd already tried everything. Normal. Completely normal. That was Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, Huntsville police responded to a shots-fired call at Candlewood Apartments on Julia Street. When officers got inside that unit, they found Nadia Perkins. She was 19 years old, a freshman, a daughter. She had moved to Huntsville to study criminal justice, a field built around protecting people from exactly this. Her father had already warned her, directly, more than once. Do not keep going over there. She didn't make it out of that apartment. And the man police say pulled the trigger, he was someone she knew, someone she had chosen to spend time with, someone her family had already flagged as a problem. This is her story. Nadia Diana Elise Perkins was from Montgomery, Alabama. She was the kind of person who filmed everything, not in a curated, filtered way, but in the way someone films when they genuinely want to share what their life actually looks like. On her graduation morning, she sat in front of a camera and talked through all of it. The wand curls, the nail salon she forgot to film because she didn't know how she was going to manage that, the lash clusters making her eyes water. She was running late, slightly stressed, completely herself. Spray and go, she told the camera. Spray and go. She made it across the stage. When a classmate asked her how it felt to be a graduate, she thought about it for a second and said, bittersweet. It doesn't feel real. That was Nadia, honest, a little goofy, not performing anything. She enrolled at Alabama A&M University in Huntsville as a criminal justice major. She had a hairstyling page on Instagram. She had a camera rolling for most of her life. She had a lot going on for someone who had just turned 19. Her family described her as a peacemaker, always trying to see the best in people, always ready with good advice. Her aunt Monica Ridgway said it plainly. Nadia had purpose written all over her. She arrived in Huntsville as a freshman. New city, new campus, new routines. And at some point in those early weeks, she met Amod Barney. Barney was 20 years old. He lived in the Huntsville area. The relationship, according to Nadia's own parents, was short, a couple of weeks, maybe stretching to a couple of months. They were not entirely sure of the exact timeline, which tells you something about how quickly everything moved. Her father noticed something about Barney early on. He didn't wait to say it. He told Nadia directly, do not keep going over there. That warning came from somewhere. Here's what was already on Amod Barney's record before any of this. In February of the prior year, he had been charged with receiving stolen property in the second degree. The property was a Taurus G2 handgun, a compact 9mm designed for concealed carry. He was arrested, taken into custody, and his application for youthful offender status had already been denied by a judge. His bond carried one clear condition: stay out of trouble. No new offenses. That is the situation Barney was in when he met Nadia. An open criminal case, a stolen firearm charge, and a court order hanging over him that a single wrong move would collapse. He apparently felt comfortable enough to ignore all of that. Nadia was a 19-year-old freshman navigating a new city on her own for the first time. She had no way of seeing the full picture. Her father could see enough to worry. She was still figuring out who to trust. On the night of March 3rd, she called her parents. Her computer kept glitching during a test. She was aggravated. Her mom told her to restart it. She said she'd tried everything. Her dad told her he'd call her back. It was a completely ordinary phone call. The next morning, residents at Candlewood Apartments heard gunshots. 4, maybe 5, back to back. Someone called 911. Officers arrived. Bystanders pointed them directly to a unit. Inside, they found Nadia Perkins. The Madison County coroner, Dr. Tyler Berryhill, ruled her death a homicide. Investigators determined that Nadia and Amod Barney had both been inside that apartment. Police described the two as being in a qualifying domestic relationship, and according to authorities, an argument between them escalated to the point where shots were fired. By the time officers had finished processing that scene, Barney was already gone. A murder warrant was issued for Amod Barney within days of the shooting. Police put out his description publicly. 6 feet tall, small afro, last seen in all black with black slides. The warning attached to that description was unambiguous: armed and dangerous. Do not approach. Huntsville is not a small city, and with a major interstate running minutes from the area, every hour that passed without Barney in custody made the search more urgent. Investigators had already confirmed he was not at the apartment. He had walked out of that scene and disappeared into the city. 2 days after Nadia was found, police received information that Barney had been spotted at a Chevron gas station at the corner of Jordan Road and Shields Road. Officers moved in. He saw them coming, and he ran. What followed was one of the largest manhunts Huntsville had seen in some time. Barney fled into a wooded area near the gas station. HPD immediately set up a wide perimeter. K-9 units were brought in to track him on foot. Drone teams went up overhead. Officers flooded the surrounding streets, properties, and tree lines. 4 agencies were now involved: the Huntsville Police Department, the Madison County Sheriff's Office, the U.S. Marshals Gulf Coast Regional Fugitive Task Force, and the Alabama A&M University Police Department. Every available resource was being thrown at one man. As a precaution, several Madison County schools were placed on secure status while the operation was underway. Parents across the area were getting notifications. Children were sitting inside locked classrooms. Entire neighborhoods were holding their breath, all of it tracing back to one apartment, one argument, one morning. The search pushed deeper into the woods and out through the surrounding blocks. Business owners near the perimeter were getting calls. Adrian Gilstrap, who owns a restaurant nearby, described finding out mid-shift. "I was out back smoking some brisket," he said, "and we started getting phone calls." He told his staff to lock the back doors, watch the front, and stay cautious. He said the business owners in that plaza looked out for each other. That is the kind of ripple one act of violence sends through a community. A man smoking brisket on a regular Friday afternoon, suddenly locking his doors. There was one specific problem with the drone operation. The drones were equipped with FLIR thermal imaging, cameras that detect body heat. In theory, they should be able to pick up a person hiding in dense tree cover. In practice, the temperature that day was sitting around 85 degrees, and at that level of ambient heat, getting a clean signal becomes significantly harder. The environment was working against them. Sergeant Chris Jackson addressed it directly. He said the drones were most effective not at pinpointing Barney's location, but at ruling out large areas, confirming where he was not so officers could narrow the ground search. They combed through the woods. They covered the surrounding streets, and the clearer it became, the more obvious. Barney was no longer there. He had slipped the perimeter. Somehow, police could not confirm exactly how he had gotten across the city, not a few blocks away, not a nearby neighborhood, the complete other side of Huntsville. Then a 911 tip came in. A community member had seen him. The location, Huntsville Place, student apartments on Century Street. Officers moved to that address. And this time, Amod Barney did not run. He was taken into custody without incident just after 2 p.m. on Friday, roughly 53 hours after Nadia Perkins was found dead. Live scanner audio from the scene captured the moment officers called it in. Units converging on the building. The address confirmed. Backup requested. The manhunt was over. Sergeant Chris Jackson stood before cameras shortly after and said what the Perkins family needed to hear. Our next step, now that he's been arrested and booked in, is justice for Nadia. They have a 19-year-old girl that lost her life to a tragic incident. Holding him accountable, that's what we're focused on. At the Madison County Jail, Barney was booked on a murder charge and a domestic violence-related offense connected to the circumstances of the case. He was denied bond on the murder charge entirely. On top of that, prosecutors moved to revoke his bond on the prior stolen firearm case. The reasoning was straightforward. His bond conditions had required him to stay out of trouble, and a murder charge was about as direct a violation of that as it gets. Both actions together meant there was no path to release. He would remain in custody as investigators completed their work, and the DA's office built its case. His first court appearance was set for March 24th. Back in Montgomery, Nadia's parents spoke to cameras once. Her father described the relationship simply. They had known of Barney because Nadia had mentioned him. A couple of weeks, maybe 2 months. He had already told her to stop going over there. Her mother remembered their last phone call, the glitching computer, the frustrated voice, the completely ordinary Tuesday night. I said, "Well, let me call you back." She never got the chance to. Her father's message to other families was quiet and direct. He said it didn't matter who your daughter was talking to. Friend, boyfriend, anyone. Introduce them to somebody. Let another set of eyes see who it is. Let someone else have a conversation with that person. Simple advice. the kind that comes from losing someone before you got the chance to act on it. Visitation was held on a Friday morning. The funeral was the following Saturday at True Divine Baptist Church in Montgomery. Nadia was brought back home. Alabama A&M University called her a thoughtful and friendly member of their campus community, a student with promise and purpose. The university announced a memorial service in her honor later in the year. For the students on that campus, this was not an abstract tragedy. Nadia had been one of them. A freshman still settling in, still figuring out what her chapter in this city was going to look like. She never got to find out. As of the time this story was written, Amod Barney remains in custody at the Madison County Jail. No bond, no release. The murder charge stands. The prior stolen firearm case, the one that was already open when he met Nadia, the one with the bond condition that required him to stay out of trouble. That bond has been moved to revoke. Both cases now sit in the hands of the Madison County District Attorney's Office. The courts have not spoken yet. A full trial has not taken place. The official motive has not been released. Police confirmed an argument escalated inside that apartment on the morning of March 4th. Beyond that, the details of what was said and what happened in those final moments belong to an investigation that is still working toward a courtroom. What is known is this: a 20-year-old man with an open criminal case, a stolen gun charge, and a court order to stay clean walked into a situation that ended a 19-year-old girl's life. And then he ran. For 2 days, he ran, until a stranger picked up a phone and told police exactly where he was. The system his own victim was studying eventually caught up with him. There is one detail about this case that does not let go easily. Nadia Perkins was studying criminal justice. She wanted to work inside a system built around protecting people, understanding crime, pursuing accountability. She was a freshman. She was at the very beginning of learning what that field looked like from the inside, and she became the person that system now has to fight for. That is not irony for the sake of a story. That is just the reality of what happened. A 19-year-old who chose to spend her life working toward justice did not get to live long enough to do it. Her father's warning had been direct. Her family had already seen enough to be concerned. But Nadia was new to the city, new to independence, still building the instincts that come with time and experience. She was not naive. She was just young. There is a difference, and it matters. She had no way of seeing the full picture of who Amod Barney was. She had no way of knowing that the man she was spending time with had already been flagged by a judge, had already lost his youthful offender application, was already one bad decision away from watching his entire case collapse. She didn't know, and that is not a failure on her part. That is on him. What Nadia left behind is specific and real. She left behind graduation vlog footage of herself doing lash clusters and complaining about the nail salon she forgot to film. She left behind a hairstyling page she had built from scratch. She left behind a criminal justice degree she was working toward and a career she had already started. Imagining. She left behind a mother who remembers a Tuesday night phone call about a glitching computer, a father who had already tried to steer her away from danger and will spend the rest of his life turning that over, a sister who was supposed to take her to Chicago for a birthday trip at the end of the month. She left behind classmates on a campus that is still grieving, a university that put her name in an official statement and called her a student with promise and purpose, which is true, but also the kind of language that only gets written when someone is already gone. She was bubbly. She was a peacemaker. She was goofy in the way that makes people feel comfortable around you. She was honest on camera in a way that most people aren't even honest with themselves. She was 19 years old, and she had a lot going on, and she was just getting started. That is who Nadia Diana Elise Perkins was. Not a headline, not a warning label, not a cautionary tale to be summarized in 2 minutes and forgotten. A person, a real one, who called her parents on a Tuesday night to complain about a test and never got to call again. To the Perkins family, her parents, her sister, her Aunt Monica, and everyone who loved her, this story is told with the deepest respect for what you lost and what you are carrying. Rest easy, Nadia.